Hello everyone. Welcome to my backyard in North Vancouver. My name is Victor Elderton. I had a career at outdoor school, which is now called the Cheakamus Centre, that was for 28 years. I started at outdoor school as a teacher and then became principal co-administrator. This is my backyard in North Vancouver where I live and lived even while I was at outdoor school. It's close to Mount Seymour Park, and we bought the house because of its location. At that time, the house was in the middle of two pieces of grass with not very much happening. We've turned the house and its yard into a place where wildlife like to come, in particular birds. We set up the feeders and each morning come out with a cup of tea or some other hot drink and look at the birds, even when it's in the middle of the winter. But of course, right now it's the spring and birds are migrating all over North America and other parts of the world, coming from the south and coming all the way to the north, where there's lots of insects and things to feed their babies and make their nests. This little video is about one of those particularly interesting birds. It's the Rufous hummingbird. In fact, there's a Rufous hummingbird right on my hat. That's a male Rufous hummingbird. It's a type of bird that you can quite often find at the Cheakamus Centre at this time of the year because the birds are making that migration. They've been spending their winter either on the Gulf of Mexico and Texas or in Baja, California. And now they're making their way up through British Columbia, maybe all the way to Alaska. Every year they make that kind of migration. Why do they do that? Why do they stay in a nice warm place in the winter and then come all the way north to have their young? Well, a lot of it has to do with the insects that are in the forest, because that's one of the major things that a Rufous hummingbird likes to eat. In fact, their major source of food is tiny little insects that you can get out of the forest. And if you've been to the Cheakamus Centre, you know it's in the middle of the forest. Well, here at the backyard, my forest is close to the forest at Mount Seymour Park. So there are Rufous hummingbirds that come here. And they come and they set up nests, even here. Some of them go a bit further and go all the way up to almost Alaska. And they need two things, or actually I should say three things that are really important. What do you think those three things might be? Well, first of all, they need a source of food. And that food, as I said before, comes from the little insects that live in the forest. The second thing they need is a place where they can get nectar. Because, like some adults, they need their coffee each day, something to get them up and pick them up and get them going. In this case, it's nectar. It's nectar usually from flowers, but it can also come from feeders that help attract the birds. And we'll talk about that a little bit later. So what do they need that for? Well, look at this. Can we see it? A little Rufous hummingbird has decided, oh, there she goes, to land. Because I, in my backyard, have this one female Rufous hummingbird that has decided that this feeder right up here is the place where she gets her boost of energy each day. And why does she need that energy? Well, to keep that little heart of hers beating, she needs a lot of energy, and that comes from nectar or from, in my case, a sugar feeder. Imagine that little female hummingbird, if you caught her in the video, her heart was probably beating at about 1,200 beats per minute all day long. That's how fast it goes. And at night, she goes to sleep. And when she goes to sleep, she almost goes into hibernation. Her heart goes down to about 4 beats per minute. And when she wakes up in the morning, she really needs to get that heart going again. So where do you think she comes? To the feeder. So if you set up a sugar feeder for a hummingbird in your backyard, then you're going to find that feeder, you should put sugar water in it, but you can't make it too concentrated. The highest concentration is 3 parts water and 1 part sugar. You can also feed them at 4 parts water and 1 part sugar. They like that combination. Anything higher, they'll get sick. They'll have too much sugar in their water. Now, at outdoor school, we discovered some really fascinating things. We discovered, for example, that hummingbirds have got excellent memories. In fact, they have such good memories. Outdoor school for almost 20 years was used as a place where we banded them. Can you imagine putting a small little tiny band, like a small ring, around the ankle of the hummingbird, and then taking the number down that's on that little ring and hoping we catch that hummingbird again? Well, here's a magical thing that happened. In 2001, we banded a little female hummingbird, probably about a year old, and we sent her off. And then in 2002, at the same hummingbird feeder, like the one here in my yard, we caught her again. And because the band had the same number on it, guess what? We knew it was her. Well, that was pretty exciting. But then in 2003, we caught her again. Now, if you remember from before, I said that those little hummingbirds fly all the way from Brackendale, where Cheakamus Centre is, all the way to Baja, California, or the Gulf of Mexico in Texas. How many kilometers would that be? And imagine, it's a round trip. You should get out a map and maybe calculate what's the distance between Brackendale and the Cheakamus Centre and Baja, California. Wow, thousands of kilometers. And that little female hummingbird that we caught in 2001 did a round trip, came back in 2002, did 2 round trips, came back again in 2004, and we thought that was pretty amazing. Well, in 2006 and 2007, we caught her again, both years in a row. That would have been like 6 years she'd been making that round trip. Summers in Brackendale, winters in Baja, California, or potentially Texas. We thought that she was quite amazing. Then, in 2010, we caught her again. We caught her in 2009, and then we caught her in 2010. That means that little hummingbird that was somewhere around a year old when we put her band on her had come back to outdoor school for 10 years. That's pretty amazing. What would that distance be like? Anyhow, at the end of the day, that little hummingbird actually set a record. She was the longest living wild hummingbird that we know of anywhere in North America. Pretty astounding. In fact, there's another kind of story about a person who lived for a long time. That's Methuselah. So she got the nickname, the Methuselah bird. Now, there's lots of stories about hummingbirds, and one of your jobs is to investigate what did Indigenous people from your area think about the hummingbird. Pretty amazing. They were known for being colorful, diligent, hardworking, fierce, and quite spectacular. So I hope you've enjoyed these few minutes with me in my backyard and thinking about the rufous hummingbird. And maybe we'll have another chat again sometime in the future. So I hope you get outside and have a look. You never know what you might find.